Welcome, everyone, to our Wednesday business coaching edition of the Coaching Collective with Pete Ambrosino. I'm Michelle Oliver here with the Coaching Collective, and we are all about just raising up the entire coaching industry, walking in integrity and providing information for anyone and everyone that is interested in coaching, whether you are a coach or you're looking for a coach in business or health or anything at all. And every Wednesday, Pete, you are so generous to show up every Wednesday. So every Wednesday, we are here to talk about business, and Pete is an international business coach. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's one of my favorite things to do every week. I look forward to it. It's, for me, it's a time when we can talk about topics that are most important in business, and people will get really good nuggets and some things that they can apply to their business. And that's what's most important, because, from a coaching standpoint, when you know and you can see what's going on in somebody's business, and then they take action as a result, and they can see those changes happen. It's so awesome. So thank you for spending the time with me. It's one of my favorite activities of the week for sure.
Thank you. I love it too. And I love that you mentioned the taking action part, because all of us can have these strategies, and we've mentioned this many times before, but there is so much information and such a tremendous volume of resources available.
Yep.
And yet the magic comes when you actually take action and apply it in strategic ways. So that's the essential part.
For sure.
Enter the coach, right? Enter the coach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? Here's the other thing too, real quick about that. It's okay that, you might come upon, and we get so overwhelmed, and some of the other topics we talked about were time overwhelmed and things like that. But that's what this piece is about, is like, let's clear the clutter. Let's get focused on what we think is going to work. If it doesn't work, let's crumble it up, throw it away, try something different. But the biggest freeing part about that, in my opinion, is I have permission to pick the top 3 things that I'm focusing on right now, and get rid of all that other static, right? Because we get bombarded all the time. So love that.
Yes, it's so much about staying focused. And today we were going to talk about startups.
Yeah.
And you mentioned capital and not getting distracted. And I was crawling under my desk saying, I'm the worst at distraction. But I think a lot of business owners are, because you've got this entrepreneurial brain, and we live in the joy of creation, and get bored really easily.
Yes.
So the second it comes down to follow through on all, this is why it kind of takes a village to build a business.
Yeah.
Kind of delegating the right stuff to the right person. Yep. But what do you have to say about these creative startups? This
is kind of why I was excited about talking about this, because you're involved in startups. You've started businesses before and so forth. And let me just ask you this: what creates that clutter? What creates that noise that gets in our way when we're starting a business, that gets in front of those things that are most important? What happens?
Well, for me, it's so many ideas going in so many directions, and it's the focus, and then not having a team yet. So you're in the midst of the chaos of creation, which is a really energizing place, but it is a mess in your brain. So lack of organization, lack of focus, lack of clarity of what comes first, which direction,
Well, and to your point, and it's easily done, because in an entrepreneur's mind, they believe they've got to get their website up, they've got to get their email list going, they've got to get their posts going on, and the popularity piece kicks in, and they might have a grant or a startup VC that threw some capital at them, and they're burning through that faster than water. So time's ticking, and maybe they don't have a cash flow statement, and all these things are bombarding that they got to get this done, got to get this done. Oh, and I don't have my team, like you said, I don't have my team built yet, and so forth, right? If we were to just say for a moment, what is the most important thing that we need to do to stop the boat from leaking right now as a startup, right? Because you're burning through that capital. Revenue, exactly.
Gonna have a client or a customer or whatever you call it in your business. Yeah.
I like client. I love my clients.
I know you do. I love my clients too. But some people have customer, they call them customers.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But yeah, you've got to have revenue. So totally focusing on that. But I think what happens, I know what happens because I work with women too in business, and I do this all the time. Your mind goes around in circles. So you think, okay, got to have that, but then you got to have credibility. So you got to do that, right? That's where it comes to website, social posts, all this stuff organized in the back end. And yet none of that matters if you don't have revenue, right?
Yep.
So you kind of have to have a beta field, where you're inviting people in at whatever level just to prove the concept, really.
Yeah. And you know what? And at first, you do everything you need to do to get that first group of clients or customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your mind goes, okay, I need to shoot wide like a shotgun and do all this ancillary stuff, all this external distraction stuff, and get advertising going. And I need to be on the I need to be on the podcast. I need to be on, the whole social media time vacuum that can happen, right?
Oh
Whereas
my gosh, that's such a talk. Yeah, time vacuum is the word.
It is, right? Because it's never tied to, nobody ever really ties it to results. What is really the outcome of my funnel? What's really, what am I really, what's my goal or outcome of putting a podcast on, doing a social media post? Am I raising a question that is going to cause somebody to raise their hand and say, oh yeah, I have that problem.
Yeah.
Engage with me about that, right? Because the customers, most of the time, 3% of the ones that find you are ready to buy now. The rest are not. And we've got to put them on that customer journey. Do we have one of those in place? How do we get the client into our world and nurture them to create the revenue? And this is the swirl that happens, that I see happen all the time, because it's like there's no clear path or plan or map, to actually get from that point to producing that revenue. And that's the interesting piece of how to we have to start tearing that apart.
Yeah, it depends so much on the type of business, right?
Totally.
So, because some businesses belong on LinkedIn and some belong on Facebook, and sometimes people are building businesses on Instagram and TikTok, and like that social media piece, Pinterest is a huge opportunity, apparently. Right. Now that I've seen what it can do. So, but in the mind of the business owner, you don't know which way to go. And it's true that you can test all of that, but you have to be able to start somewhere. And I don't know, it depends, like, what business are we talking about, really?
Yeah. But even before that, let's go back to a previous conversation about finding our ideal client.
Yeah.
Our ideal client, are they on LinkedIn? Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's step one. Or are they on Instagram? Now there's a big difference between Instagram and LinkedIn people, right?
Yeah.
To come clean, I barely know how to operate Instagram. I think my Facebook's connected to it. That's about all I know about it. I just don't. Yeah. I don't communicate there, right? Yeah. You probably know better than I do. But the point is our audience there? Are the people that we want to attract there? What do they love? What do they fear the most? And how can I provide a message around that? Again, bringing it back to, I've got to stop the leaking in the boat and stop burning through my initial capital and start producing revenue and getting towards that break even. If it doesn't have anything to do with that, it's not worth your time right at this moment, right?
So how do you deal with that with different, like, I guess in my mind, I'm just thinking it depends on your business, what that would look like. Like for
Yeah.
a restaurant, it's going to be entirely different than, I don't know, clothing boutique or a coaching company or launching a book, or, I mean, there's so many variables.
Yep.
So you take it all back to the beginning of like, let's determine who your ideal client is, and you go through that process and then take them to, so where do you see that people are burning through their capital?
It's exactly that. Like if you take a new business and maybe they got some sort of grant or something to, because they've got a great idea, maybe they're going through the patent product process with a product, and I'll give you an example. There was a gentleman that I spoke to that was launching a business that helped bartenders and servers identify when somebody was ready for a drink really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Wow.
it was it was like this coaster idea. So it was like a drink coaster kind of thing, right? And the challenge with it is, okay, these coasters cost 6 cents. How many do I need to sell? And what would be my margin? And how do I have proof of concept that it actually increased the sales of drinks in this restaurant?
That's so hard.
It's very hard, right?
How did you do that? Especially for something like that, that you would think is so intuitive, right?
It's like a no-brainer. It's like an instant, you could see it from across the room. I
Yeah.
know this person needs a drink, right?
Yeah.
It gets the wait staff moving quickly, right? Really cool. I mean, really cool idea. Can't believe I didn't think of it earlier on, right? He's going through his process with it right now, but to speak about it and to speak about the thinking that had to be done to say, hey, if I approach this restaurant or approach this bar, right, and said, hey, would you like to increase the sales of your alcohol and beverages by 30% in one move? Be a heck of a question. Who wouldn't give him 10 minutes to
Yeah,
talk about?
because that's where all the margins are in the alcohol.
Right.
You got to be on that. So how does that work?
Well, I mean, it was one of those things where we needed, he got wrapped up in all the development, the design of it, the
Oh, I
this,
see.
the that, and all the minutia around what it was going to be made of, and so forth and so on. I said, whoa. I said, hold on. We need to go and get some case studies, some proof, like you said, proof of concept that this is something that, one, hopefully nobody will take the idea because it was so simple, right? Two, is it something that is sustainable, that they will constantly come back and repurchase from you, right? Because that's the whole name of the game is, can I sell something that somebody uses every day, right?
Yes.
Without fail. But
Right.
this is where a startup can just get lost in that whole process. And the bigger question is, we get stuck in the problem of, how do I do this and what do I need to do? And that distracts us all the time. Whereas maybe a better question is, well, who would I need to align with?
Yeah. Much better question. I love that question. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt. Yes.
No, it's true. It's like, who do I align with that can help me, sell this, or that would be able to tell the story for me, right? Who would have that experience? I get most of my clients, I don't know about you, but most of my clients from other clients that refer.
Yeah.
Right. It's like these
Always
stories.
people. Yeah, it is. It's always about the people.
It is.
And about communicating and conversations. I don't, I mean, I think personally, I can be my downfall is being very sloppy on the back end. Like I really need people to do that. And when I had a team, like when I had the right team, it was a personal assistant that annoyed me because she was so organized, putting everything in, spreadsheets and all of that. But
Wow.
that's what we needed to
You
run
do.
everything. And she was really good at it. But, but what I'm good at is connecting with people and having those conversations and just kind of like, what does everyone always say? Like, why are you shooting and then aiming and
Aiming
then,
later.
yeah, aim later.
Right.
That's me. And that's, we all have like positive and negative traits, and
Yep.
you just have to learn to navigate them, and like you said, align with the right people. So somehow though, when you, at least in my experience, when you're really clear about the end result, what it can deliver,
Yep.
and who you're delivering to, and I get so laser focused on that other people start to kind of show up who see it, and then they want to support all of the stuff I don't like to do. Like I've had that magically happen many, many times. So I think there's something to be said about being really clear about where your energy is going, because you kind of attract people like that.
You know what? And here's the other end of things. And I'll be completely transparent with you about even my own business right now. I don't like sitting in front of a computer and doing data entry after I go to maybe a networking group or something. I come back with a stack of cards, and now I got to sit there and send out nice to meet you emails and all this other, it's like, no, I'd rather be on a podcast with you talking about seeing how we can help other people. And you know what I mean? It's like, I just had this conversation with my wife. I just need this automation done in the background.
Yeah.
So that once that's set up, now if a potential client pops out of it on top of the referrals, bonus, right? That's what that focus though is so important. And it's why I'll use myself as an example. I get distracted by doing what I love to do versus what might be more important right now for flattening out the roller coaster of incoming leads, let's say.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why you need a coach.
Yeah.
I was just thinking this morning, like, okay, what I need more than anything in my life right now is a workout buddy or a trainer, and why? Because I can't seem to get back where I really feel good.
Yeah.
And that's in our business too. Like you need someone that can have an eye on what's going on, a different perspective, and kind of pull you back into alignment with what's going to make a difference now. That's how we burn through cash, right?
Yep.
Like because we're over here, and then we're over here, and we're not consistent, and then we're taking 2 steps back, and you can't afford to do that when you start up.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you know what? I'm going to give you a little secret about the workout thing. I have a close friend that is part of a peer group of mine that I get to be with every week, and he's an extraordinary athlete in his own right. He will take something and absolutely, first he's a world-renowned skydiver and instructional. He's a certified instructor for the team jumping, where they all jump out together and make formations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my man's got like 20,000
those crazy guys. Yeah.
Who jumps out of a perfectly good plane? Not me, right?
I don't know. I know
it's on my list though.
who think it's fun. So
right. But anyway, he picked up cycling, and literally last month he finished the month putting 1,000 miles on his bicycle.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right? But what is in the back of his mind is, I don't need to set a goal of doing 1,000. If I set the goal of doing 1,000, I would have never done it.
Mm-hmm.
All he did was say, okay, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to do 10% more than what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
And just do a little bit. It doesn't have to be 10%. It could be 1%, right?
Yeah.
But having that in place is so rewarding. And for me, fighting a cold for the past 4 days, I haven't been in the gym in 4 days. I'm feeling like a wet rag right now, right? But we have to have that habit built in to where the feeling good of after we get out of the gym, it's not the fun of being in the gym. It's the how we feel when we come out and we're like, that was great. Right. So I just wanted to give you that. I mean, but it's amazing how just having say, hey, I just want to do just a little bit more, one more tenth of a mile this day or something like that. That's the goal. It's to not have a goal.
Yeah, I get it. I know it's the experience and the journey and all that really is. I've never ever had this problem with whatever you want to call it, exercise or working out or whatever. It's always been such a big part of my life. So it's an area that it's perplexing.
Yeah.
Because I've never not, I don't know. It's always been like the single non-negotiable top. It was so easy for me.
Yeah.
It was always easier like to work out a couple times a day. And now, anyway, so I think what happens though, is it's not dissimilar to business because
nope.
What I know is like, I want to be where I was 2 years ago and then elevating from there. And I really don't, the fact is like, when you know what you need, and I just don't want to do anything alone anymore. I'm just finished with that. Like I've always been, leave me alone. I'll just go do this. Like I can get so much more done without y'all. Like, let me just go do my thing. And, I just don't want to do that anymore. I had that partner who was like pushing so hard and it was so much more fun. Yeah. And so I'm just ready to do that. But it's very important just in business too. And I'm experiencing this now since we're just talking about this, that many times in business, I would rather just go off and make all this happen alone. And then have the right people show up, because there's no way I'm going to go backwards,
Oh, yeah,
you don't want to feel like you're dragging people up a hill. And I've hired coaches, I've hired trainers who were so nice to me in the gym that it was like, this is exhausting for me. I can't, it's too much, So you have to have the right person. Yep. That you have that like, and again, I think it is about the vision. I really think it always comes back to like, can you see where we're going with this? And let's play with that. And
let me jump in here real quick and identify something for you.
Okay.
You identified a key result or outcome that you want from working out. And there's a connectivity that you want to experience during that time, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So there is something that could be a non-negotiable now. Mm-hmm. I need to find some activities and here's the thing. Same thing with a business. If you need to go out and do sales of some sort. I've got to go out and sell my product. I've got to go out and meet people and do networking. And I'm an introverted person. I'm very shy and I can't do it, but I have to.
Yeah.
Right. Tying another outcome to it. Like, oh, you know what? Let me make this a twofer. I'm not only going to get in shape and feel good about what I just did, but I'm also going to connect with my buddy and we're going to have these conversations and we're going to talk about this and talk about that while we get to feel good.
Yeah.
It's like how you're
framing it in your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, working out and feel good is kind of secondary to the connection and love or the connection and what happens while you're doing it. So that would be step one in any scenario that causes distraction, even in tying it into our startup conversation, right? It's like, how can I reframe what I don't want to do because I don't have that team member that's a salesperson right now because I'm shy, but I got this amazing product. I got to get it out. So how do I get over that hump?
Yeah,
Right?
it is. It's so much about the focus, and taking it off of ourselves. I think, I don't know, Pete, I feel like vision is always the thing. It's just always what I go back to. And it kind of facilitates where you need to be focusing. So if it's always, and it always has to be about another person and
Yep.
where you're serving. I mean, like even when I'm in the gym, like that is, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it means a lot of things. It's kind of like about fitting in the right clothes that are all sitting in my closet. That's definitely it. But the process there matters too.
Yeah.
And I think at different stages of life or different stages at business, you're willing to maybe compromise in different areas. And I think the less we compromise, really the better, and stay focused on those goals. But I don't know, the distraction piece is a tricky one.
It is. It is. And you know what? And that's the power of having somebody on your team, either
Yeah.
a coach or having a mastermind or having some type of accountability buddy, right? That will bust on you because he didn't get the text in the morning that you were at the gym and doing what you're supposed to be doing at 7 a.m. or whatever that looks like, right? It could be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be somebody in proximity. It can just be somebody that's willing to commit to you. Hey, you know what? You want your feet held to the fire? We're going to do this for each other.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let you off the hook. There's no excuses here. If it
Yeah.
doesn't happen at 7 a.m., it better happen at 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's that shared vision, and I think people need that connection, right? They
Oh,
need
totally.
um
We're built for that. I mean, when we don't get that, I
yeah.
mean, the other things suffer in a big way.
Yeah, you were talking about how great it is, the satisfaction of having your clients take action when you're working with them.
Yeah,
And that really is the thing.
it is the
Because
thing.
yeah, and for them to come back then, and then it starts to loop and you can build momentum and build those habits where it really does become more difficult to fall off
Yeah.
track than to stay on track. And that's what you're helping them do, right?
You
So,
know, you're right. And also, even if, let's say, what you agree on as homework or what you agree on or what they commit to you that they're going to do, even if they come back to you and say, Pete, that idea sucked. But you know what? When I was doing it, I figured out another way that started working. There it is.
yeah,
That's a win.
absolutely.
Huge. Huge win. Because if he didn't start, or if they didn't start doing what might have worked and then realized super quick that it didn't work, but switched gears, progress.
Mhm.
It's like you feel you and we get to celebrate with that, right? Love it. I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, but we threw something against the wall. We tried something, and that's progress. It's taking those steps, right?
Yeah, little baby steps. That's
Love it.
what I'm always sharing with my clients. This is an ongoing thing. It really is. It comes back to all that stuff. We talk about this every time, I think. Tiny habits, compound effect, like all those books. Those books are the same book written over and over and over
Over and
again
over again. There's no new
because
ideas out there. I know. We can have
atomic,
all the training and all the
because
people
we
that we
need
follow.
to do
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because it always is like one step at a time. So tell me, do you, with your clients, do you run into, like, if you're dealing with someone with a startup,
Mhm.
they're going to come with, here's my vision, this is where I want to go, and you're kind of guiding them, helping them stay on track. Do you experience often like where do you see the biggest distraction?
That's a great question. Where do I see the biggest distraction? The biggest distraction. That's a great question.
Again, I'm sure it depends on what kind of business it is, but are they getting distracted by like you said, going backwards to make sure all the systems are in place first?
So let me take you a little ahead of it. A lot of times when I'm working with somebody that does not have an established business,
Mhm.
it's more about how fast do I see them get to revenue, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how's that going to play out, right? And then kind of carving through what's in the way of that rate at the moment, and how where's the low-hanging fruit. So it's more about carving through, and I don't want to say diagnosing, but actually the outside perspective of what might need to happen in order to get to revenue. Because here's the thing, not all startups are going to actually start up. And that's where if I see the purpose and the fire in the purpose of why their product or service is so important, now I know their level of where I'm going to give up at. Right. So if I can find out where that point is that they're going to give up.
Interesting that you said that. Yeah, go on.
So it's kind of a dance between, okay, what do they think their reason for getting into business is? And everybody, and there's a lot of different ones right now. Think about the Great Resignation and these people that just, having a job was such a great idea until they said that you don't have one.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And now it's like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to allow anybody to tell me that. I'm going to go start up my own thing and be my own boss.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I think about it, most of us have that. It's what I started out with when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I don't want to be told what to do. I want to be my own boss. Well, it was a really quick lesson to realize that I will never be my own boss, right? My boss is always my client, or always my clients. I've got to deliver what they need, right? So how to navigate that and where the purpose is and where the money runs out and where the drive kicks back in and where are the resources at. So I would say that the answer to it, what's the biggest thing that gets in the way is the mental focus on where the resources are and how resourceful they are.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Because there's so many things that can cause a business, a business in its infancy is so fragile. It can't eat and drink on its own. You have to feed it, right?
Yeah, it's a baby.
It's a baby. And how to get it from there to walking.
Well, there's so many levels of distraction along the way. And that too, it always comes back. Like, this is why we're having these coaching conversations, anyone that's watching, honestly, because when you have someone, whether it's a coach or a mentor, someone that can kind of guide you, it's going to be so much less painful. Yep. Because you can get to that point where, okay, you stay focused on the value, you're delivering value, the resources, okay? Like resources really are about, I think, serving as quickly as possible, like proving the concept, proving the value, getting it out there. And once you've done that, then you go through all these different iterations of what that looks like, because and at each level along the way, you wake up to the realization of, like, you were saying someone that comes from having a job,
Mhm.
you can come to the realization of, wait a second, I feel like I'm having a job. I feel like I'm in a job that's even worse. Well, they address this in what is it, E-Myth, or is it the other one? I don't know, but where they talk about, like, okay, the difference between a true entrepreneur and when you actually have created a job for yourself, which you feel like it's a nightmare because there's no one else. Like, you're not really on a paycheck.
Right.
Like, you got to generate the revenue and deliver. So there's that level, and then all these other levels, and you have to be willing and understand how to keep growing beyond that.
Yeah.
And this is why, please hire a coach so you don't have to go
Well,
through what I did. Like, it's
you know,
really simple.
here's another piece of that is this person could be going through reinventing and reevaluating their strengths, gifts, and talents, and how to actually add value to someone else. The
Yeah.
business may be the distraction, because the idea and being entrepreneurial versus being a true entrepreneur, right?
Mhm.
Or like you're talking about the E-Myth, where you have an entrepreneurial seizure, right?
Yes, exactly.
It,
Everybody's using that term now. Have you noticed? That's so funny.
my goodness. So it's
Everyone is there's an entrepreneur pandemic right now.
oh my goodness, no doubt. Um, but if and the value of a coach or an advisor or somebody that has walked that walk before, they will put a mirror up to you and say, here's what's really going on. And you may not like this right now, but here's what's happening, and here's what it's going to take to get over it. And any coach or mentor that's worth their salt will have walked that walk before,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
gone through the pain of it.
gone
And
through it,
guys, like, I mean, don't you agree? I don't know. I think it's you learn as you go, and the more efficiently you can do it, it's just better. There's no reason to suffer as much as I did many times.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so true.
so
It does shorten the suffering time. That's a key.
yeah,
All coaches, whether you're coaching relationships, business, self-improvement, life, everybody that stamps their head as a life coach, it's like, really, what tell me what your story is. How do we align with that? Right? How are you going to get right? It's that experience, and it's that true, I'm here for you and not for me. If there's anything more valuable in a coaching relationship, it's not about the money. It's that coach is there for your outcome and on your team, rooting you on this whole way, even when it's tough.
I really like what you said about when your client will come to a realization and say, I tried this, it didn't work. And then, because this journey of growing a business really is about the mental, it's about growing as a person,
Oh yeah.
coming to different levels of self-awareness, and where do I need help, and what do I do alone? I mean, it's so satisfying. And I don't want to put out this idea that it's just too hard, because life is hard.
Yep.
and I can't imagine, I mean, honestly, anything more fulfilling than growing and sharing from a business, because of all the things it does, and we've talked about this many times before with women, that it becomes a source of financial stability. You step into your power. You have to grow, like, you absolutely have to level up. And you can either do that from falling flat a million times alone, or having someone hold up. It's like having the trainer who's saying, okay, you've been coming in here every day, but you're lifting, so so like your reps are high, but your weights are so low, you're just not going to get any result that way. And then
Yeah.
you go, okay, I'll try it. Ooh, it hurts. And then you're like, a few months later, you're like, wow,
Yep.
you were right. And it's because you went through that kind of pain. So, so yeah, and yet there's this fluidity where it's like, oh, I tried this. I really like working with this machine or these weights or, this class or whatever. So there's always room for creativity and input, but
Yep.
you're being guided by, like you're guiding a lot the journey because you've been there before. There's just so much value in everything that you're sharing.
You also hit on a big point where, let's take women entrepreneurs that may start a business later in life.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to unpack there, because maybe this person spent most of their life being mom
Mm-hmm.
and going through that process and being mom and devoting their life to their kid or kids. How many women do you know may have lost their identity in that process?
6,432,000.
The big
Oh,
number, right?
yeah.
Because of this was their purpose, and their heart center is nurturing, and growing that kid, making sure that kid can survive on their own, right? But in the meantime, mom didn't grow or develop through that process, other than being an amazing mom, right? And now all of a sudden there's these things that they've always wanted to do and they've always wanted to discover and never had the opportunity to do. And I've got all these ideas, and now I've got all these things and all these products that I want to put. I want to make these amazing workout pants, or this thing for the bar that I was talking about, right? It's like, okay, let's get that. There becomes the distraction. It can be I've spent all this time and now I need to make up for it. And now I need to do all this stuff. So now it's a feeling of, oh my gosh, I don't have much time maybe on this planet. That could be in the back of the mind. Right?
Oh my gosh, I totally feel that way. I mean, I totally get that. So, what I think is interesting is how women will discount what they do, because yeah, that's a whole nother conversation of what you do being a mom. I mean, I did that, and I built businesses at the same time and homeschooled my kids and did all of it at the same time. And there is a tendency for women to discount what they know or what they've learned from all of those experiences. Because being a mom, like, you learn everything.
Oh my
You
God.
know how to manage, you know how to juggle, you have great communication skills, you know how to team build, you know how to produce, it's like so much. And yet they'll say, I was just interviewing someone the other day who was like, yeah, well, I've written, and I did this as well, but this woman, I've written all these books. I only published 4. And I'm like, what? You've only published 4, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of that is like about stepping into what are your skills? And to your point, like, where is the focus? Choose one. Choose
Right.
one and let's see if it'll work,
Yep. Choose one. Let's like you said, let's focus on it. Let's get it up and running. Let's master that, like we've mastered raising kids, right? And been amazing rock star at that, or been like you, Wonder Woman, juggling everything.
Every woman is like that, though. Like the first conversation we had, you told me why, because we are air traffic controllers.
100%.
Every woman has a brain like that.
Yep.
So if you want to start a business, you can do it. But then, like, what you're really saying too is that so someone like you can look at all these ideas, this woman with like, I didn't get to do all these things, now I got to do them all. And you can say, this is the structure your brain needs.
There you
Let's
go.
bring it down. Let's land that plane,
Yep.
and then like see how we can really prove it out. And with your strategy and step by step, coaching along the way and accountability and all that. That's the real where the rubber meets the road.
Here's what's even more powerful, I think. The ability, and you do this for your clients, I know you do. I'm going to guess, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Most women may not feel that they've been heard. They don't feel heard. Would you agree?
I would say yes. I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that one. Yes, I agree. Okay. I was going to say, well, they haven't been heard. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Most women feel that they have not been heard. Yes.
Sure. Now,
and you're so good at hearing women. You're so good at it.
Well, this is part of what's so cool to unpack, especially with our time together. If you're not my, let's say I'm your girlfriend, right? We're girls, and we meet up for Starbucks, and we're having this back and forth conversation. You're telling me how your week was. I was telling you how my week. Well, there's two agendas at play here. You both are venting and getting it out and vocalizing all these feelings and emotions and going on, right? However, both of you may or may not be gaining traction and momentum on your desired outcome for the week. It's more about getting it out and getting the herd piece under control. Whereas if I'm in front of you and you're coaching me as a woman, you don't have that outcome when you're coach. Your outcome is to listen and understand and find out what the pattern is that's going on and give another perspective back to me.
Yeah.
And say, oh my gosh, I see what's happening. How does this land? Oh yeah. Oh my God, this is what I do all the time. I get into Starbucks, I talk with my girlfriend, and right?
We should talk about this next week.
It's a good topic.
Because I really think this is one of the most important things for women. And I would love your input on this, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's mark the book to come back to this, because
let's do
it. I think your perspective could help a lot of women. And there are all these things popping up in my head that I'd love to ask you about.
Yeah.
And share from a woman's perspective and from working with a lot of women. I think that could actually benefit some people for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely pick it up. Oh my God, did we burn it out? We burned it out.
Yeah, and I have to get on. I have 4 minutes until my call. I don't know how. I talked way too much today, but yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's great. I think
you actually.
We talk about distractions. And the whole point of today was, and in a wrap up, right? If we were to wrap this up, how easy it is for us to get distracted when we don't create a space where we can focus. And that's where having a coach on your team or somebody that can be that accountability person is so valuable, because the only agenda that's held, or the outcomes that are held, or the space that's held is for you, not for me. And that's that I think we should.
Okay. So next week, come back, and we'll be here at a different time next week. Because of Thanksgiving and stuff, different schedules, and it will be shorter, but we might even do a few sessions on this, because I think it's really important to help women through this and the whole coaching space. And I'm going to end it on that.
That was great. Good seeing you. It was a pleasure as always.
Oh yeah, it really was. Thank you so much, Pete. You have a great day, and we'll be back next week we're coming at 6:30 Eastern time next Wednesday, right?
Sounds great. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See you all then.
Have a great day.
Bye.